Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I am Gerry. Joining me today, I have Terry and Max. Guys, it is good to see you. It's been a while since I've seen. I've seen Terry more recently than Max. Max has been, he's got a lot of stuff, a lot of irons on the fire, if you will.
Yeah, it's nice to have the Holy Trinity back together.
I was kind of like, oh, somebody call me holy. On to the match review extra time. As I said, match finished 1-1, thanks to a late equalizer by Tosun Pasha. Let's talk about the football first, and we're going to talk about what went down with Andre Gomes and Son Heung-min and Serge Aurier. We'll talk about that later. But let's get the football. I hate to say get the football out of the way, but you know what I mean. Not a very super inspiring match of football for a while. Not a ton of opportunities at goal. I will say one of the highlights for me was seeing the lineup in formation. Max, you wanna start off talking about how you felt about that 4-3-3 and how it worked out for us, or it didn't work out?
Well, I think initially when you see the official Twitter account putting it out there as a 4-3-3, it's kind of subject to opinion. You don't quite know what you're getting, obviously.
Very true.
They're not in the dressing room. They don't see what tactical approach the squad are going to take. But obviously, it got quite a lot of people excited. My primary issue with it was that even though we did have, for the majority of the game, 3 central midfielders on the pitch, we just seem to bypass the middle of the park so much. There's such a predictable element to our approach in that we just look to the flanks, to the corridors all the time, and to push the fullbacks on to get the wingers involved. That in such big games, and to me, always these top sides will always be our main rivals and always be those who we should aspire to be getting onto the tails of. In those such big games, the battle in the middle of the park is essential. And when you look at the performances of Christian Eriksen and Tanguy Ndombele, their performances were just far superior to our central midfielders. They were just dominant when in possession, really tidy on the ball, and I think for the bulk of the game, Spurs looked like the side that were most likely to score. From the first half, really, and I think David might have even tweeted about this, that our low block, we didn't press aggressively. We respected them far too much and just didn't look likely of producing anything. I would have liked to have thought that the approach was come out strong in that second half, meet them head to head, and look to create more goal scoring opportunities. Obviously, we didn't. Took Dele Alli obviously opening the score, and the injury to Andre Gomes, them going down to 10 men to really kind of kick us into gear. But even then, coming up against the 10 men, it was all kind of push it out wide and swing crosses into the box. The quality of those crosses were varying, to say the least. I thought Luca Dean's half volley cross for Tosun was probably the pick of the bunch. It was sensational, and the activity of Dean was really, really good. But I still think we showed, we were really vulnerable at times, being caught out on the counter attack. That being said, I do think the best player on the pitch was Yerry Mina. I think he put in another really solid performance, and so far for me, he's been our player of the season.
Now, Terry, you've been very vocal about how Yerry Mina was not going to make it in the Premier League. So, time to eat a little crow. Say, hey, I was wrong. It's okay, Terry. No, everybody knows you love him. Everybody knows you're going to change your name to Yerry McAllister. We know it's happening. And you may convince me to be Yerry Gibson. All right? Mina looked strong. Holgate was out there with him. Holgate did not look awful either. Did not look out of place. There was one play where it stuck out where I was like about Holgate, and we'll get there to that. But
it's a good developing partnership, though, isn't it?
I agree. Terry, what did you think about the way we lined up and the way everything transpired as far as on the pitch with the actual football?
Well, when I saw the lineup and it was 4-3-3, I think like everyone else, everyone was quite excited because we've been crying out for that for a while. But I think it was only 4-3-3 in name only, because when the match was actually played, it was 4-1-4-1. It was the two wide players of Iwobi and Walcott weren't playing as forward players; they were playing as wide midfielders. Set back. Now I know they need to defend, and I know that you can't just stay right high up the pitch against Spurs all game because, out of form or not, Spurs are still a very good team. But it was just Richarlison isolated by himself for long spells. It was like, this is not any different to what we used to. Only usually we'd have Sigurdsson or someone who's up there with the striker as well, which is ineffective anyway. But it just wasn't a 4-3-3 for me. I was a bit disappointed in that. I was like, I'm really looking forward to seeing how we got on. But I think the personnel in that front three didn't really suit a front three, if you follow. Like, it just didn't seem to be the reality, despite what it said on the team sheet.
Do you think it was a situation where Silva has been wanting to run a 4-3-3 for a while, which I feel like we all know that. So we've known Silva's been wanting to run 4-3-3 for a while. It's been in interviews and everything, but the idea was, or a lot of people have said, he just has not had the personnel. It's almost like he got to a point where he was like, I'm not going to go down and lose my job without at least trying the formation that I want to try in the first place, regardless of personnel. So there's this one little thing where maybe the graphic was wrong at the beginning, which it had. That's one of the things Max kind of alluded to a little bit, because you never know when you see the graphic. I've seen it wrong before. However, my vibe is that I think he was trying. He's trying to get us toward that 4-3-3, and we just haven't trained a lot at it, and we're not quite there yet.
I think we had to emulate some sort of change following that Watford performance, though. I don't think the Watford performance in the week was anywhere near up to standard, and there did have to be some, a different approach in some aspect.
Yeah. I mean, I have to agree with that. Did it sound like I didn't think that? I'm sorry. No, I'm definitely with you on that. I guess it was the fact that everybody has said that this seemed to be a must-win game or a big statement game for him. And if we were to lose it, everybody had pretty much decided he's probably going down for it. But if I'm him, and if I've wanted to implement a system for a while, and he's like, the time's not right. Well, if you feel like the time it's either now or never, then, and I will say, I didn't feel like Spurs got a ton of opportunities to score. They did not have a lot of clear looks. Their goal was a silly pass by Iwobi, right? It was just...
Yeah.
It was a silly pass. And they had the one other opportunity. I'm sorry, Max. But the one other opportunity that I saw was that really sweet ball by Eriksson that went like far post. You know the one I'm talking about? That Sanchez missed, and I think, was it Ben Davies who missed it? Somebody else missed it right behind him. That was their other chance where I was like, that's a good shot. That was solid. But it felt like what we had kind of limited a lot of their opportunities.
True, but as I said, in that counter-attack and transition, not just that singular game. Just I think Spurs' reputation in general. That's where they punish teams. That's where they are, so clinical. But as I said, we defended well, but up until they were down to 10 men, I still think they had the better of the chances.
So,
and we're looking the most likely to score.
I'd say we have to admit, we have to bring this up before and I don't want to get into this too much because we'll get into it with our next segment when we talk about refs and VAR. Let me rattle through these guys. I'm going to rattle through them because I think there's maybe 3 or 4 different moments where I'm thinking, what the hell, VAR? Okay, he didn't hear me. So the thing with Son, on the breakaway. Mina comes down and kind of does this bizarre flop in front of him. There is a tiny bit of contact, but after the contact, Son very clearly can stay on his feet, but he throws himself to the ground. You can actually see the moment where he realizes, oh, there was contact. And he does that. You can see it on his face. Okay? And VAR watches it not once, but twice, which was weird. Okay? The fact that they watched it a second time is ridiculous. I don't understand why that's the case. Whatever. Okay? Then you've got, there's a moment where, let's see here, the handball.
Yeah, and that took about 5 to 10 minutes to sort out, which was absolutely ridiculous watching it live.
And it's almost like they were trying to figure out a way to justify not making it a penalty. You know what I mean? They're like, hold on, let's look for this obscure rule. Okay, here we go. Because there was something, it had something to do with what I heard is the fact that he was being pressured I got nothing, guys. That's why they said it wasn't a handball. And they didn't even get the best angle. Did you see where they were talking about on the NBC feed here? They showed a feed where it's very clear where it comes in. It's from behind, directly in front of the goal mouth. And you can see, and they said, we just confirmed that the VAR did not have access to that angle. Why? Okay, why? All right.
The explanation's absolutely pathetic. So if you're under pressure in future, just volleyball spike the ball away.
Yeah.
Because you're under pressure. So if someone's going up for a header with you and they're trying to score and you're a little bit shorter than them, just use your hand because you're under pressure. It's absolutely pathetic.
And there's somebody else who was telling me, it says you can raise your hands if you're trying to protect your face. Dele Alli's a professional footballer. Is he worried about the ball hitting him in the face? If so, why is he a professional footballer? I'm just saying, is this a thing? Is this a thing we do now on corners?
The explanation of him being under pressure means he can handball it if he's under pressure. It's just laughable. And then other people were saying, well, it's hit his shoulder first, so it doesn't count as handball. It's like, no. That rule only applies if it's been deliberately hit into the player's hand. So if somebody, like the Champions League final, like that one wouldn't count anymore, I don't think. Or if someone hits the ball into a hand deliberately to try and get a penalty, then that doesn't count. But Gerry Mina can't deliberately put that into his hand. Yeah. So there's just no way you can justify that not being a penalty. They took 3.5 minutes of replays to still get the wrong decision.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
It's pathetic. It's absolutely laughable.
And I'll add another one just because I thought this was crap too. Richarlison near the very end turns, plays the ball past, I think is it Sanchez again. He's behind him. And Sanchez very clearly makes contact with Richarlison. Now it's Richarlison. Let's just say this out loud because we have to acknowledge it. Richarlison fell down a lot, okay, during the whole game. I do think Sanchez was very physical with him in a lot of the times, and I think he made a point of being physical to throw Richarlison off, okay? But there was definitely contact. It was very clear he turned around and kicked Richarlison on the foot when he was through to goal. Or he was the very last. Sanchez was the last man. That's a better way to say it, I think. He may not have been through to goal. He may have been going toward the left side of the box.
I was going to say, is that the phase of play where he knocks it around one side of the defender and tries to go around?
That's another one. That one was a potential penalty as well, where he sort of spins him and he takes him down, like he sort of knees him in the thigh.
Yeah. That's a different one. The spun one. Yeah, that one too. That's 4 plays, which make no sense.
I forgot about the one you've mentioned with the kick. Now it was obviously he's tried to play the ball, but being accidental doesn't mean it's not a foul. Like,
they didn't even give a foul on that one. The one that's.
If you're looking out the window as you're driving and run someone over, you didn't mean it, but you just still run them over. Well, you did.
Yeah.
It's like, honest to God, it's like 3 different incidents of VAR there where it's gone against Everton.
And that's just one game. That's just one game.
One game, and then it's just the week before where they overruled the referee to give a penalty because for sneezing by the Brighton striker. It's
I loved how I love how
absolutely-
Glenn Murray after that game said, "No, that wasn't a penalty. The VAR is ridiculous right now." Glenn Murray.
It's your boy.
Only people who watch this will get that. That's okay. So, or listen, but yeah, so anyway, you could tell the football wasn't great. Listen to what our highlights are. You know what I mean? Those are the moments. I mean, we'll say, though, our goal was nice. Okay? That cross-field ball by Gerry Mina, who is a center back. Okay? A center back played that ball all the way across to Luca Dean, who, in stride, does not receive the ball, just plays it back across one touch perfectly in line to where one of two players could have headed it in. Both of them, it's like their heads they were like their heads were like together as they like headed it in. I thought Calvert-Lewin had got it until I saw that angle from behind. You saw Jing Tosin got it. All right? It was nice. It was a really nice play.
I'm not into that celebration though.
I was going to
Against 10
ask,
men.
that was the next bit of conversation I wanted to have, man.
Get the ball off the net, run back, restart. Come on. I think that's where we differ in mentality to a lot of these top sides. But there's a huge gulf there that, I don't think it's going to get fixed anytime soon, but, start by fixing it.
I disagree. I understand where I completely understand where that sentiment comes from normally, but they just watched one of their teammates break his ankle. They literally, passions are running so high. They even all said after the game it was hard to concentrate. I couldn't concentrate watching it, never mind if I was playing it. So the emotions are so raw at that time. They've just all been around Andre Gomes, who's been stretchered off and taken to hospital. They're all clearly shaken by that incident. The emotions just burst out of them. Now we'll touch on it in a bit. There's other things that went on around the game mentality-wise that I'm not happy with, but I just think it's incredibly harsh to judge them for celebrating the way they did with 5 minutes left and whatnot. Under normal circumstances, yeah, what are you doing? Go get the ball. But with everything that went on, I'm like, I just can't. I can't be mad at them. I'm like, no, I don't blame them for being like that. They must have been a massive relief to have got that goal after everything that had gone on.
I understand some of them, but I also think there are certain players who were thinking, get the damn ball and go. You know what I mean? I think there were certain players who were thinking that, and you didn't see a lot of people saying, okay, cool, let's go. You didn't see really a lot of that. It was people coming up and go, they seemed happy, but, so I feel like balance. It would have been nice to see one or two players saying, guys, I'm happy, but let's go. You know what I mean? And the really crappy thing is that they're supposed to be adding time on from that kind of stuff anyway. They're supposed to be doing that. But because we're the ones who are celebrating and we're the ones who wanted the game to keep going, you know what I mean? There's supposed to be a stoppage of play for that kind of stuff. They're supposed to be adding that on. So, anyway, I see both sides. I do. It's not one of those things. I'm not angry at them, but I do think there should have been a leader of some sort saying, guys, clear heads. Let's get it going. So this starts to get us into some interesting territory. We've been dancing around it a little bit, but we should probably go ahead and discuss it because this particular segment, this video, this whatever for the pod segment, it could end up ballooning enormously if we don't go ahead and start talking about it. Been dancing around a little while. Andre Gomes' injury, what happened with him. The segue here being, how we reacted after our goal, how we reacted after the injury. There's just a lot of stuff to discuss here. So just to set the stage, second half, I think midway through the second half, something like that, Andre Gomes and Son Heung-min are going for the same ball. Gomes, being the bigger guy, kind of bumps Son off and catches him with an arm kind of to the nose and to the mouth. Okay? Son goes down, no foul is called. Okay? He's clearly upset, annoyed, whatever. He goes out, and literally as soon as he gets back on, okay, it's very quick. Gomes ends up going after a ball, and Son just goes straight after him, takes his legs. Okay? It's a revenge tackle. It's very clearly a revenge tackle. Okay? He is thinking, I am going to trip this guy. I'm going to take this guy down, and I want him to feel it. He does want him to feel it. The way he's followed through, he did want him to feel it. Now, everything else we'll talk about in a second. But he did that on purpose. He did foul him on purpose. Aurier comes in as Serge Aurier, as Andre Gomes is falling forward and kind of catches him hard, physical, not the worst foul in the world. It's not as premeditated as what Son was doing, but catches him, kind of throws Andre Gomes off. Andre Gomes' foot just kind of hangs limp. Okay? It's nasty. It's awful. I'm not going to go into more detail about that. It's a dislocated, fractured ankle thing. Yeah, and he had surgery today. And Gomez, legit, love you. Love you. Get healthy, man. All right? For real. As Son saw that, he got very upset, and he did look devastated. He was crying. That was the thing that happened. Aurier looked upset too. He was consoled by Cenk Tosun and by Seamus Coleman. Seamus Coleman in the locker room later. One of the things people noticed was Luca Dean going straight up to the referee and getting in the referee's face, getting in, and basically saying, "This should be worse. What is going on here?"
Pochettino too.
What was that?
Got a Pochettino too.
Yeah. Okay. It was just differing reactions from different types of players. Okay? So, basically what started as a yellow card for Son turned into a red. The only thing that I can think of is that VAR reviewed it and decided that the tackle, the premeditated version of it, and the fact that Homie broke his leg or broke his ankle made it a red. I don't know. That was a strange sequence of events too. The refereeing there was odd, trying to piece it together. So, I'm going to start with Terry and let Terry... There's just a lot to discuss here, a lot to unpack. But Terry, where do you want to start with this? Because I've seen a lot of different angles, and I know how I feel about it, but I want to hear what you guys have to say, and we'll go from there.
Well, Heung-min Son hasn't meant to injure him, but he's meant to do him, and he's caused the injury. Mm-hmm. So I've got no sympathy for him. He can cry all he likes. He's crying because he's guilty, because he's like, oh, my revenge tackle has that. I didn't plan on it doing that. He knows he shouldn't have made that tackle. That's why he's so distraught. He's like, he comes back on the pitch, charges 20 yards to catch Gomez. I'm going to get him. Obviously, he doesn't want to break his ankle. He's not him who's caused it, but he's literally must be thinking afterwards, going, I didn't need to do that, and look what it's done. That's why he's inconsolable. He's guilty because he knows what he's done. He's caused it. And, he's at least guilty because of his petty, petulant little, snide revenge tackle. And Serge Aurier is just a brainless yard dog who's just as at fault. It shows how inept the referee is, that he's going to take out the yellow card and then changes his mind when he sees the result of the resulting injury and sends him off. I think Tottenham are going to appeal the yellow card, which is just pathetic on their part. It's not he's endangered a fellow professional. He's caused the injury. So I think he's right to go. Serge Aurier should have went as well, because he's the more at fault than Son. Son's the instigator, but he's the Aurier's the main, I don't know, sort of guilty party.
Can you describe what he did? I was unclear because every time I looked at it, I couldn't get a clear look at what Aurier actually did. It looked like he just sort of stopped his progress, but clear that up for me.
It was both. They were like, it was scissor emotions from both of them to me. Yeah.
Son brings him down, and then as Gomez is in, sort of he's sort of fallen from that tackle. He's got his foot planted, and then Aurier comes in for the loose ball that Gomez has relinquished through the Son tackle, and just with full force just crunches into Gomez, who's in fallen mode. but his foot's planted, so he just smashes into his standing foot, and then obviously that has caused the fracture and the dislocation. So the two of them together, whilst there's no malicious intent to injure on either part, one from being petty and petulant and one from being just thick and stupid, have conspired to break another professional's ankle. So, and it was even, of all people, Mark Clattenburg, who said today in the press that the two of them should have gone. Never mind, Son shouldn't have been sent off. The two of them should have been off the pitch immediately, because they both endangered a fellow professional with just stupid play. So I've got no sympathy for Son. He's upset, he's crying. Good. His petulant little snide tackle because he caught a flailing arm in the face, whilst not intentionally, he didn't intentionally cause. He never intentionally injured the other player. He's caused the injury. It's again. It's as if he's not guilty of murder, but he is guilty of manslaughter. His actions have caused that injury to happen. So I've got zero sympathy for Son. And Aurier, I think, because of the reluctance of the TV stations to repeat the incident, because it always freezes before he's involved, because that's where the impact is. Aurier, for the most part, has gone a little bit under the radar at the minute for how involved he was, because a lot of the replays don't show him. It's just focusing on Son's tackle, but the two of them are a pair of absolute jokes in my book. They're absolutely pathetic, the two of them.
Max, I know you don't have a lot of opinions on this, so I'll just move on. No, he's brimming with opinions. I saw his Twitter, and yeah, it's Can I go through a little bit about how you're feeling, and I want to ask you a little bit more also about how you feel about Coleman's reaction, Jink Tosin's reaction, and all that, because that is a whole different realm of conversation on this.
Well, something rather interesting about it, I thought that if I was sat where I usually sit for home games, that would have happened right in front of me. I've been there for several serious injuries like that. I was at Newcastle away in 2009 where I think Victor Anichebe broke his leg, and when Mikel Arteta did his ACL. I was there when James McCarthy broke his leg against Hotspur. It's a horrible thing to experience. I think the result just pales into insignificance. But yeah, I lost a hell of a lot of respect for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, and in particular Son and Aurier. It's not the 80s anymore. You can't get away with challenges like that. You can't go in like, you see the likes of Peter Reid and Pat Landau going in with challenges like that back in the 80s. Come on. That is just absolutely pathetic. It's reckless, and as Terry said, it endangers another fellow professional. You can even see the look on his face when he lunges in. It's reckless, it's careless, and the resulting challenge is just absolutely devastating. As sad as it is, obviously, the events are transpiring. Firstly, anyone but Andre Gomes, and I know it might sound bad to put it this way, but particularly, you look just the story of his career for me. Obviously, the fallout that he had at Barcelona, where he's out of sorts, and he's come over here looking to find a new home. But he's an absolute hit with the Everton in the community, all the work that he does. The whole just little things like that. He's endeared himself to the supporters massively, and I think in terms of the stylistic development of this team, he has been a huge part of that in terms of bringing in just a bit of flair to the side. As we mentioned, the contesting the formation, he's a starter in whatever midfielder that we play. In whatever midfield that we start, he's the number one starter. And for it to happen to him, I am absolutely gutted. And as someone who's spent a spell on the sidelines due to injury, nowhere near as severe as him, but a couple of months is bad enough. That rehab and that physio process is going to be really, really hard for him, and I do wish him all the best.
Yeah, having experienced the ACL a few years ago, I haven't played competitively since. Now, I don't have the same rehab that Gomes will have. He has a totally different type of injury. And for me, I don't have to play. It's not my livelihood. You know what I mean? I'm just some video guy. For me, I'm not playing because I want to make sure I can play with my kids. You know what I mean? Him, it's his livelihood though, isn't it? It's his identity. It's his life. This is how he he would. I mean, I don't know if he's got like a family or whatever, but if he did, that's how he'd feed them. I mean, this is, yeah. And for it to be taken away like this, especially at a time where he had already had a little injury, but he came over trying to, he's getting constant time now. He's getting consistency. He's building consistency. He's bringing up his confidence. And for this kind of crap to happen is just, it's nauseating. My wife, we were...
It's sickening, isn't it? It's horrible.
My wife is talking about, finally somebody gets their shit together and then something like that happens. You know what I mean? It's just, it's some tragic shit. Sorry, my kid's out of the room now. I'm just dropping shits. Just happening. But yeah, it's awful. Okay. Now, having said that, I don't want to sit there and act like I hope I'm not you don't consider me part of the problem here, guys. But I will say I have a little bit more sympathy for the Spurs players than you guys do. But I get why you say what you say. You know what I mean? I'm not in the business of telling people. I think you've explained what you think on this, and I can't argue that. You know what I mean? I just have a certain, when I saw what Coleman's reaction was, I was thinking, that's a guy who's been on the other end of it. And for some reason, he feels it necessary to go over and try to make somebody feel better about it. So I'm not angry at Cenk Tosun or with Coleman, but I understand, because I mean, gosh, we have our message group on Twitter where we talk about this. A lot of people were not happy with them kind of consoling song, Coleman going to the locker room afterward, Cenk Tosun being that guy he is. And that's the thing. It's almost, that's who they are. Now, is that indicative of just human behavior, or does that have anything to do with mentality about how you approach professional football? Serious question, because I don't know the answer.
I think obviously it's a subjective case. I'd just like to reiterate, like, Seamus Coleman has always come across as like the humanitarian of the group, like alongside Leighton Baines of this current squad. They're up there, the two of the nicest professionals that I've ever met. Obviously, as you said, Gerry, you factor in Seamus Coleman's previous experience, him seeing a good mate in James McCarthy suffer a similar fate. Again, it is just that humanitarian approach from Coleman. I'll hold my hands up and say, this is me being tribal. This is my tribalism coming through. Like Fabian Delph said after the game, he's one of our brothers. Something like that happens, I'm like Luca Diggin in that situation. I get in people's faces. I take the aggressive approach to it. Again, it's all subjective, down to individuals. And if anything, I think you've got to praise Cenk Tosun massively for the way he's navigated through the situation to come off the bench. The players to go on to score, a 97th minute equaliser. That's brilliant from the man, and kudos for that. But as I said, I have lost a hell of a lot of respect for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club following that.
Terry, do you have anything on that same conversation, the same topic?
Not really. I mean, I understand people have got different opinions on Coleman's sort of course of action afterwards, but my view of it is, who are we to tell Seamus Coleman how to react to something like that when he's been lying on the floor with a horrendous leg break. So whether it's down to, I think he should have done this, I think he should have done that, we don't know. Like, I know what I think. I've got pretty strong feelings about the situation, but I'm not going to sit here and say, well, Coleman should have done this, that, or the other. How the hell do I know? It's easy to forget as well. A lot of the Everton squad are young players. Like, there's a lot of young players in the team, and even like 23-year-olds or some of the older players. So the likes of Coleman, the likes of Tosun, who are a little bit older, they're the ones who are gonna conduct themselves and show the young players how they think they should carry themselves in situations like that. And I just, as I alluded to before, there were some things that happened around the whole game mentality wise, which I had a problem with. Touch on that in a minute, but it's that wasn't one of them. I'm more in the Luca Dean, sort of emotional camp, but I can't be angry at Seamus Coleman, because how can I understand what he understands? So I was fine with it, really, even though I was very angry about Tottenham and the players involved. I'm going to have to just bow to his experience on this one. He knows and I don't.
Yeah, I was very conflicted. And you know what actually helps a lot is we're not on social media right now. We're actually having a conversation about it. I mean, Max very clearly was like, look, this is why I'm feeling like this. This is a tribal thing for me. And the fact that these are kind of things that don't come out all the time in a tweet. You know what I mean? They don't come out. I can sit there and I can hear what Terry has to say. I can hear what Max has to say. They can hear what I have to say. And we can kind of come to an understanding because we're seeing each other's reactions. We're hearing each other's voices. And there's no time limit. There's not a character limit. You know what I mean? So we can actually communicate through this. Chances are, after a conversation like this, we're all pretty much close to being in a similar spot, except now we understand other people's points of view even more, so yeah, no right or wrong answers on this kind of stuff. This is life, so yeah. So Terry, I think you have one more thing you said you wanted to mention about the game. You said there was something else surrounding the game you wanted to mention, and that would be like, this may be the last thing we have on this because this has been Herculean. This segment is massive. So
yeah, I won't drag it out, but amongst all the, they should have reacted like this, or they should have reacted in a different way. They should have got the ball instead of celebrating. The one thing that really pissed me off was Marco Silva about the VAR. It's like, and I'm not one I've not been, anti-Silva very much at all, and I'm even only, tacitly, slowly getting a bit like that now, well behind everyone else. But come on, mate. I mean, that's 2 games in a row with VAR. Not to do with the injury, but just VAR has absolutely screwed us 2 weeks in a row. And he comes out and he says, we need to respect the VAR decisions. Like, no, you don't. You're going to lose your job, and that's going to be a big part of it, where you could have won against Brighton and you could have won against Tottenham, and then your job is practically, if he wins those 2 games, that means he gets, 4 wins in a row. He's turned the form completely around, and then the questions about him go away in a big way. And frankly, even in a non-specific Marco Silva way, no, why should we? This is the problem. Other clubs, bigger clubs, rage against injustices against them, and they stop getting them as much. And Silva turns around, just meekly sort of goes, oh, well, we need to respect the VAR. Why? We could have had 2 penalties today. We got given a penalty against us last week, which was for a phantom foul. I just don't want. I just don't want that from a manager. I'm not one to easily go in on Marco Silva, but it's like, no, that's not an Everton manager, mate. I want you to rage against those things. I want you to, when there's injustices against us from referees, you to say something. I want you to fight against it, and because it'll just carry on. We're a soft touch. Referees will give things against us very easily when the manager's got nothing to say about it. It's just naive.
I mean, I'm raging. You guys are raging. We're all raging. We all want to say, fuck you. I won't do what you tell me. You know what I mean?
I thought it was a bit harsh on the players celebrating instead of getting the ball given the circumstances. I didn't agree personally with everything Coleman did, but who am I to tell him? He knows more than I do. But that one, no, I just can't.
Yeah, I've been saving some of my VAR rage for the next segment. That is, and not even VAR rage, ref rage. It's not just VAR. It's the dumbasses who are working with it. So we're going to talk about that next segment. Guys, let's close this one out. So that's it for our extra time for Spurs. What a weird match. Highlighted by stuff that really didn't have as much to do with football. So, yeah, strange one. If you've been digging the videos, please subscribe to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel. We'd really appreciate it. If you want more Max has a lot of stuff going on. All right, Max, do you want to plug? You want to plug the new thing, the new jam?
Yeah, slowly but surely. I'm going to stockpile a few episodes, but I'm getting me out there to the Future Sport Podcast, at Future Sport Pod, if you want to give that a follow.
At Future Sport Pod, that is Max's thing. I know his sound went in and out there, but yeah, understand that. And know that it's Max behind it. That's the one. That's what you need. If you want more Terry, Liverpool Echo fan jury, they let him drop knowledge on there frequently. Also, the streets, hugs abound. Terry waits for you outside your house. Let's do this. Wow, I made that sound menacing. You're welcome, Terry. I'm giving you a mystique. So all right, that's it. It's time we're gonna rage some more. Let's talk refs and VAR on the next segment. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.